Hey, what up, my friends? It's good to see you today. Out in nature again, soaking up some sun, at least whatever I can of the sun, and also the trees and the oxygen and the grass. And I actually had to get my shoes all muddy to actually get to this point, but it's okay because it's worth it. It's worth it because I think I have something, another revelation this past week about the ideas of, let me see, what was that? Oh, the idea of a life of service versus a life of consumption and absorption. So I guess it would be more of a life of service versus a life of consumption, and why the life of service will always be better, and it will a life of consumption or a life of hedonism will pale in comparison to the life of service. Because and I've struggled with this a lot, like just growing up. I think we live in a world or in a society where we are basically taught, or not taught, but we're conditioned to believe that the ideal life is to have everything and to have it all, and to be able to show that to other people. Granted, the opinions of others is important in life. We highly value the opinions of others, even though there's some of us out there that say that they don't care at all. To some degree, there has to be some sort of awareness, at least, of how other people view you. Otherwise, you would not be human, really. You'd just be a robot or something else, right? Or psychopath or sociopath or whatever it is. And so I forget, I went on a little tangent there. So the life of service, and I've always had this thought growing up, like, why would I, because like in school also, which is kind of ironic, they teach you to be a good person, right? Like when I was growing up, I felt like a big part of school was just learning how to be a decent human being, how to be respectful towards other people, how to not talk over other people in class, how to raise your hand, how to be obedient. And some might tout this as conditioning for just being somebody who just listens to what they're being told and listens to what authority figures tell them. And that's partly true, but also, I never disagreed with the idea of learning to be a decent human being and to be nice, right, to others, and to be kind towards others, to a degree, to a point where you're not disrespecting yourself, which is probably the worst thing you could do, as far as relating to other people, which is like helping others, but also disrespecting yourself in a way, or like, just not setting boundaries, or not letting people cross your line, for example. I've had this thought this past week about Martin Luther King Jr., and I thought about all these figures, or these these historic figures that have been mainly people of service, and are the people that we really look up to when it comes to being a person that is selfless and is not selfish, and is living their life in service of other people. And I thought, like, what's the point of being that? What's the point of being somebody who is who sacrifices their basically sacrifices their entire life for other people, because arguably Martin Luther King Jr., in order to put out the message that he wanted to, he had to risk his life, and ultimately paid the ultimate price, which is, he got assassinated, right? And I don't know too much about, I just, know enough about what who Martin Luther King Jr. was, and just basically what I learned in U.S. history class. And so, but from what I've learned, right, I can see that he did sacrifice a lot to further the equality of Black people in America, right? And I'm like, well, why would, I've always questioned that. I'm like, I do see that as a great thing. Like, we all recognize that when someone is selfless in that way, that is like a really incredible thing, right? Like, we all think that is super cool, like that he did that, and we admire that behavior, and we know it's good, right? We all understand that that's good. That's good that he is, that he's doing. Anything selfless, like putting others' well-being in front of your own, right? Which kind of contradicts what I said earlier, which is like disrespecting yourself. But I think it's like, it's wrong when someone disrespects you and then you allow it, right? And you disrespect yourself in the process of doing that as well. And in the process of being nice or being kind, you think you're being nice or being kind, but really you're just letting someone else disrespect you, right? But in the case of Martin Luther King Jr., he's not disrespecting, nobody's disrespecting him. He's out of his own selflessness, he's helping others. So that's the difference there. Back to the point though. Why would I choose a life of service like that? Why would I be like MLK, or why would I be like Malcolm X? These are just like the most popular historical figures that I could think of personally. And it's like, why would I choose that life over a life where, you're just living as basic as you possibly can, just following whatever you're told, or following everything that is told to you, or like following the schedule or the agenda, or what your teacher tells you, or what your boss tells you, all those things. And just having, today's Friday, right? Today's Friday, and people are happy it's Friday, and we're happy that there's going to be the weekend soon. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. But to live continually on that cycle of like, okay, I'm living my regular week, and then the weekend comes, and then I, have a drink, and I watch the game, and I have some dinner at a restaurant, and then that's my weekend. And then I go back to my normal life Monday through Friday, and I do the same thing over and over again in the office. And, some people take it to the extreme where they get addicted to drugs, or they get addicted to food, or, there's all sorts of addictions that we take in the place of something that's missing, right? I'm addicted to YouTube. Like, I'm addicted to the internet. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. And it takes the place of the idea of the loneliness that I feel, really, the isolation that I feel. I don't think I feel lonely per se. I do feel alone, in the sense that I do feel like it's hard to relate to a lot of other people for me. But I do watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I'm on the internet a lot to sort of replace that feeling. So that's definitely something I need to address. But yeah, why would I choose that life of service versus the life of just, normal everyday life, and then just like enjoying consuming and just watching movies and just eating eating cake or having ice cream, and then just getting drunk and getting hungover and all those things. And arguably you would say like, oh yeah, like, imagine being 40 years old or like, yeah, 40 years old, and you own a Lamborghini, you live in Miami, you drink every weekend and you party and you eat food, and it's like the idealization of like, the pop culture, what pop culture idealizes the success looks like, right? That's what success looks like, is you have it all. You have you're at the top of the food chain of like consumption. You have all the best things, the best toys, the new gadgets, everything, right? And that is what other people tell us is success. Do I feel like that's success? It looks like it because that's what other people say, but it doesn't matter, because now I'm living in a life where I realize that, the ultimate question is, are you yourself or not? That's really, whenever I see somebody and either they're content or they're not, I'm having this epiphany, like, it doesn't matter, because like, especially in the United States, we live in a very competitive environment where we're constantly trying to one up each other, we're trying to be better than each other, and we're trying to compete and be the best and number one, and that's all great and healthy competition, right? It should be, but from what I see, it feels a bit toxic at times, and actually most of the time it feels toxic. Rarely do I see healthy competition. But competition is good. It's great. It's what makes us better. It's what makes us better human beings, right? But and that's all good, unless you're putting your own personal satisfaction in life and your own personal definition of what success is, and you're putting, how other people view you over that. And I think I'm getting a little confusing here, but essentially what I'm saying is, it all boils down to, are you yourself, or are you not? And that's like the most important question that I ask when I see anybody, or if I'm interacting with anybody, if they're experiencing any kind of sadness or depression or anxiety or things like that, which I still struggle with, to be honest, right? I still struggle with a lot of those emotions, and it's part of being a human being, right? But if someone is truly dissatisfied, no matter where they are, they could be the top of the food chain, they could be bottom, they could be the king of the world, whatever it is. Like, if they don't inside, don't feel like they're living their true self, and they're not being who they truly are, they can't feel that contentment or that happiness, right? And then it goes a step further. If you are truly yourself, right? Even that is not enough. And for a while, I've kind of been living this life like, or having this philosophy that I was like, okay, as long as I'm myself, as long as I do what I do, as long as I'm chill, like, that's going to be what makes me happy. And then this past week, like I'm saying, the Martin Luther King thing, right? It goes a step further from that. True contentment does not end at just being your true self, which I think is something that is being touted lately by a lot of, I don't know, it's just something that I hear a lot, which is like, if you want to be happy, just be yourself, just be who you are, just do you. But it doesn't make sense, because like some people might think that being them is, being freaking, being a bad person, or being, a murderer or something like that. Like they're like, oh, I'm being my true self, so that's okay. But that doesn't make sense now. At that, if you're saying like, oh, if you want to be happy, just be yourself, that's not good advice anymore, because what if someone takes it the wrong way? So true contentment comes from service to others. So why would I want to be like a person of service, for example? Like, why would I want to be MLK, right? Because his life, even though cut short tragically by an assassination, right, is way more meaningful and way more fulfilling if he was being himself, right? If he's being who he truly is and is living his life in service, in a selfless service to other people. That in itself means more than anything else, right? That means more than the life of like, let me just consume, let me just be a consumer, and let me live life for me, like that. The live life for the hedonism kind of outlook, and so to be like, oh, like, why would I ever be like him? Like, that's not smart, because like you just you try to help other people, but you lost your life in the process. So that's kind of not intelligent. And I'm using euphemisms here. Some people might use other not so kind words, and I mean no disrespect to MLK. Like, I really admire who he was and what he did, and arguably people say he's an INFJ, and I can see that. He could be an ENFJ or an INFJ, very people oriented, so he could be either or. And so don't ever worry about sacrificing your own well-being for other people, because actually that is the ultimate, right? That is the ultimate satisfying thing that you can experience on planet Earth, is that service for other people. The idea of like, I'm giving everything for the well-being of others, right? For the well-being of others that are also for the well-being of others. And so there's some holes in what I'm saying here, and I hope that some of you pick it up and are able to comment on that, and I can kind of hash it out. But the point is, that is the ultimate. I've realized the ultimate is not what we're seeing on TV. It's not what we're seeing on YouTube. It's not what we see on social media. It's not those things. It's not having a yacht. It's not, those things are great. I don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like I don't want those things, right? But that's not the ultimate. I can't have that as my ultimate goal. That's not my, that's not the end game. The end game is eventually it's for other people to realize that the life of service is the ultimate. It is the ultimate thing. So some of you might be saying, well, aren't you Christian then? Are you a Christian person if you say that? Because like the idea of Christianity is love is sacrifice, right? Like God gives Jesus Christ as his only son, and sacrifices his only son for the service of other people. And I think this touches upon that idea that I'm saying, the ultimate is that service, right? It's like giving your life for other people. It's like, that's the ultimate love, right? And so I still don't believe in Christianity, right? But I believe that the spiritual journey that I went through in college, like when I was a freshman in college, like one of my big things was like, let me figure out the spirituality thing. Like, what do I believe in? You know, I took a religious studies class, you know, I went to churches and just try to get around as many spiritual religious people as I could, just to figure it out, just to be like, well, is there something that I need to believe? And because I was super curious, I was like, what is out there, right? And I still don't believe in Christianity, although some of you might be like, oh, you're basically saying you're Christian now because you're saying like, oh, like the ultimate is service of other people. And I think Christianity overlaps in this idea, and this idea of like the service for other people, right, is something that comes up in religion a lot, I believe. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. And so, yeah. Begin to my viewpoint now and my perspective now is like, let me find a way to be of service to other people. Like, how can I give value, or how can I give instead of take? How can I help others feel good, right? Feel happy, and find this and make the same realizations that I have spiritually, and also kind of like just philosophically, you know. And I don't want to get super woo-woo about it. I don't want to get super like, you know, because I've been seeing some videos in spirituality, and I could talk about this all day, but I kind of should have just did a podcast, honestly. But yeah, I just really want to emphasize that the life of service is always better than the life of consumption. And it's, you don't have to do it today. You don't have to, like, you know, start donating or whatever. Like, it's just at least having that, understanding that perspective, understanding that framework, understanding that that worldview is super important, I believe, to finding that ultimate satisfaction in life, and to not be always confused, like, oh, what's wrong with me? Is there something wrong? Like, why is this world like this? Like, why do I feel like I'm not happy, or why do I feel like I'm not feeling good? Like, it's like, ask yourself, like, am I doing things that are for other people, or am I just doing it for myself? And I think this realization that I'm making now, I feel like this realization that I'm making now is going to be a very important one. I really truly believe that. I feel like that's a super important idea that I just figured out on my own, or not for myself, like, and I think that's going to be a very, very, very important piece for how I move forward, because I've been confused for a long time. I don't know what to do. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, there's so many things I want to do, but I don't know which one is right. And asking myself, like, is this for other people, or is this for me? Anyway, this has been a pretty long little vlog. I hope this stuff resonates with you. I hope you take something from it. If not, be persistent, keep trying. And yeah, comment below if you have any questions about what I said, or like, is there any clarification? Because I think it will help me also to just figure more things out, and help you also figure things out. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. Cliss Adams, signing out. See you later. Bye. See you. I'll catch you in the next video.